I love me some chicks dicks.
Does your wife know about that, Steve? Well, hello everyone. I want to start this video off with a little story. You may have heard bits and pieces of this before. It's something that happened to me about 10 years ago. I was leaving a local gay nightclub. They were having an amateur drag contest there, and of course I had to be there, of course I competed in it, and of course I didn't win. But anyways, I was on my way to my car, and, well, I got jumped. I fought back. I'm generally not one to back down from a fight, and I was wearing 6-inch heels, and you just can't run all that well in those. So, I fought back. Now, luckily for me, the police were pretty quick to show up. It was a Saturday night, and it was in Ybor City, and Ybor City is kind of Tampa's historic, but also like their nightclub district, and it's pretty swarming with cops. I mean, chances are if something happens there, and it happens, you know, pretty close to where the clubs are, the cops are going to know about it pretty quickly. I mean, there's cameras all over the place. Anyways, the cops were pretty quick to show up, which I was pretty thankful for. And, you know, the guy that attacked me, I don't know if he was scared or if he was just stupid, but he was pretty quick to confess to attacking me. I mean, all the while saying all kinds of colorful things about me, but, yeah, he did say that he attacked me. That's kind of the important part, because I got to leave and he was in cuffs. Now, I don't know what happened after that. I just made my way back to my car, left. For all I know, after I was out of sight, they may have let him go, and I honestly don't care if they did. I look at it this way, him getting slapped around by a tranny was probably enough punishment for him, you know, that realizing that somebody he attacked fought back, you know. That's just the way I see it. I'm kind of glad I didn't have to go to court over this or anything like that. And like I said, they probably let him go after I was out of sight, which I'm totally fine with. Anyways, what was the point to me telling that story? Why bother telling that story? It wasn't really that eventful, right? Big deal, I got jumped. And that's the way I look at it, big deal. I fought back. He got in trouble, I didn't. If he even got in trouble. Well, my good friend Bering recently posted a story about a trans woman being attacked and urinated on under a sock account to troll Steve Shives. Well, I'll have Steve read that story to you.
Tristan Loves. Hi Steve, big fan. I am a non-binary trans woman. I use the term trans woman because I identify with many more of my female traits, but still don't consider myself male or female. Up until recently, I was a consumer of content from both sides of the fence. I would enjoy content from people like yourself, Christy Winters, Cat Black, and other similar creators, as well as the likes of Sargon of Akkad, The Amazing Atheist, Bering, and so forth. I was pushed away from the latter genre recently after a horrible experience at a meetup hosted by an anti-feminist YouTuber, one I've heard you speak about several times. After having a minor disagreement with the YouTuber about the nature of biological sex, several of his fanboys descended on me, calling me horrible names, calling me delusional, and even spitting on me. Several times I pleaded for the YouTuber to come to my aid, but his reaction was to join in, chant horrible, dehumanizing slurs at me, and grope my private parts, gleefully screaming, "I love me some chicks with dicks," and other transphobic slurs. Absolutely crushed, I left the event immediately and was walking to my car when suddenly I was punched from behind and knocked to the ground. I was then kicked, spat on, urinated on, and verbally abused by 5 or more of the fanboys from earlier. This horrible experience has left me with PTSD and a crushing fear of leaving my house. My question is, do you think the YouTuber in this scenario can be blamed for the actions of his fanboys? I don't recall the YouTuber himself being involved in my physical assault in the car park, but his earlier actions could be considered inflammatory to the situation. I'm interested in your opinion of this incident because it is a real-life parallel of the horrible abuse and dogpiling that occurs here on YouTube, which I've heard you speak out against several times. Also, now that I know that the other side of the fence is definitely not the place for me, Do you think it is possible for me to be fully embraced on your side of the fence, or would I possibly be seen as some sort of defector? I appreciate your time and your thoughts. If you're unable to cover my question for whatever reason, I fully understand, and thank you for your wonderful content all the same. Regards, Tristan.
Oh, what the fuck, Barian? You know what? Fuck this. I'm serious. I'm pissed. I'm goddamn pissed. I'm getting on the next flight to Australia, and I'm gonna paddle your furry ass. And if Sugar Tits even thinks about getting in my way, I'll paddle her furry ass too. And then I'm coming back to America with an XB Falcon and a case of Tim Tams, and Steve Shives is gonna be my new internet friend. I am so glad I don't use a camera. I really am. Trust me, I did not even remotely make a straight face during that. I was on the verge of chuckling the whole time. I'm just not that good of an actor. Anyways, being transgender, having been attacked for being transgender, I probably should be pretty pissed with Barian right now, and I'm not. I'm not at all. I have every reason to be pissed with him, but I'm not. I do have to say, transgender women being the butt of a joke is more tired and used up than jokes about Amy Schumer being tired and used up. But I ain't even mad. Steve Shives is the real butt of the joke here. He responded just the way he was expected to, condemning people who he has an ideological difference with. And as always, not naming names, but you can guess who was just on the tip of his tongue. You know, you can just see who he was picturing just beating up on this trans woman, this fictitious trans woman that was in Barian's story. And yeah, Steve did show compassion. I'll give him that. Even if it was sincere, it was still a virtue signal, as well as a delivery method for telling everyone how he really feels about those on the other side of the fence. Something by now most of us are aware of, to the point where I'm pretty sure his reaction to the story that I started off this video with would not have been given the same compassion from Steve. I mean, by Steve's standards, I am a Nazi.
The term anti-feminist, when I talk about anti-feminist, and I talk about them in very harsh terms, in very, very condemning terms.
Proudly offensive, cluelessly bigoted assholes.
The pants-pissing anti-feminist crybabies on the internet.
Like most of them are white supremacists and misogynists and rape apologists.
I think a lot of people on what I guess we could call the other side of this, the sort of anti-feminist, anti-social justice, pro-Nazi, which I think we have to say now, pro-Nazi side, or at least a Nazi water-carrying, Nazi apologist side.
I'm not faulting Steve for taking Barian's troll bait at face value. Transgenders, especially transgender women, do get attacked. I knew it was intentionally over the top. But considering Steve thinks the absolute worst of those of us on the other side, I'm sure all of his biases were confirmed. Looking back, I could say to Barian, hey, tell us something we don't know about Steve.
I love me some chicks with dicks.
Yeah, that's just too precious. I don't think he's ever going to live that down. But one thing I do have to say here, and I can't help but wonder if the story had been a little different, if it had been a trans woman who maybe didn't kowtow to social justice or feminist ideology and had received a certain degree of abuse at the hands of feminists and SJWs, if Steve's tone would have been a little different. You know, how would Steve have reacted to that? That's kind of a curiosity I'll have. But I honestly don't think he would answer that question, especially not anytime soon. I mean, I'm not encouraging people to go troll Steve with stories of trannies being beat up by feminists, but it is something I'm wondering about, is, had some things in Barian's story been switched around, what would Steve's reaction would have been? And finally, one thing I do have to say. You can call this a virtue signal if you like, no skin off my back, but you know, I've been watching Steve for a long time, and the guy I subscribed to years ago, that's not the person I saw in Barian's video. That's not the person I've seen for a long time. I feel kind of bad for Steve, I really do, because, you know, it's kind of like this. When you see a car going down the road, and it's making a loud rattling noise, you don't have to be a mechanic to know something's not right. In Steve's case, the loud rattling noise is his anger, his hate, his disdain, his vengeance toward people that he just doesn't quite totally agree with. And, I mean, yes, there is a certain aggressiveness on the other side, a certain toxicity that does come with being on the other side, but Steve's just bitterness is just, It seems a bit extreme. It does. And that, coupled with the fact that Steve just seems to be this hollowed-out shell of his former self that just totally had all the life sucked out of him, yeah, I feel bad for the guy. I do think there's something wrong. I don't know what it is for sure. I'm no doctor. I'm certainly no psychiatrist. But I do think something's gone bad in Steve's personal life. I mean, I don't want to be one of these people who is accusing his wife of beating him or anything like that, but I do think there's something wrong. And as I said, if you want to go ahead and consider me virtue signaling for saying that, no skin off my back, I really don't care. I just wanted to say that. But that's really all I've got for you in this one. Thanks for watching. Love you all very much. Weekend's coming up in a couple of days, and I'm going to get so fucked up in so many ways.